Hey guys, and welcome to a Sinister Cup PvP video. So in this video, we're going to be going over the newly unveiled Sinister Cup and the Pokemon that you are going to want to be watching out for, and how to use them. But first, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to get all of this Sinister goodness. And yes, I'll quickly go through the Sinister Cup if you haven't seen it already. This cup's being held through October and has 4 allowed types: Ghost, Psychic, Steel, and Fighting. So on top of that, there are some bans this time around. You are not allowed to use any Pokemon with a Dark subtyping. So that's no Spiritomb, no Sableye, no, it's just, it helps the Ghost types out. There's also no Mythicals, but you can bring Legendaries. You can't bring Skarmory, and you can't bring Hypno. So that'll definitely provide some, it'll open the door for some new picks, I think. So speaking of, let's get into those. So I've simplified the Sinister meta into 5 main groups here. So on the bottom left, you have the most prevalent typing of this cup, the Ghost types. In the top left, you have the Confusion users, followed by the Tanks in the top right, and the Fighters in the bottom right, with the Water Boys in the middle. So starting with those Ghost types in the bottom left, with the ban to Dark types, the Ghost types do have it a little easier than they have had in the past. Like in the Twilight Cup, for example, they're hard countering the Fighters, including Medicham. And they kind of trade the mashups with the Confusion users. There's some back and forth. Basically, to simplify that, Haunter is going to lose to the Confusion users. The other Ghost types generally beat the Confusion users. Now, I have simplified this infographic to just 5 main groups. So you'll see a couple of those arrows that go both ways. That just means should probably be looked at in a little more depth. So yeah, that's all that means. And so yeah, you've got Haunter, you've got Alolan Marowak, you've got Driploom, and there's a lot of other ones that I haven't put on this infographic that are worth a look, like Dusclops and Frostlass. But this is just a little representative feature for the Ghost type, so you get what it is. The Ghost types are also walled by the Tanks and generally lose to the Water Boys in the middle. Moving on to the Confusion users in that top left, on top of taking out the Haunter, they generally take out the Fighters, especially Toxicroak if your opponent happens to take that risk in bringing him. I wouldn't. They also trade some matchups with the Water Boys and get beamed down by the Tanks. You've got Bronzong and Cresselia there. Cresselia, you will have to mirror trade it to get it into the Great League. Gardevoir is actually an interesting one because PvPoke likes all 3 of Gardevoir's charge moves. No, sorry, quick moves. You've got Confusion, you've got Charm, and you've got Charge Beam. All of them, yeah, PvPoke likes all of them. So it will be interesting to see what actually comes out as being used. Where he seems to shine, and yeah, we'll just see how that goes. Onto the Tanks in that top right. We know the Tanks, and they can wall 2 groups that we've already looked at here. They can wall the Confusion users, they can wall the Ghost types, and they will lose those other 2 types. They'll lose super hard to the Fighters, as we know, and they will also lose to those Water Boys in the middle. They can kind of just do that water damage that's really hitting them hard, kind of like how a Zoom Rule can do a lot of damage with bubbles. Just kind of like that. But yeah, you've got 2 groups good, 2 groups bad. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. The Fighters, pretty straightforward. They beat the Tanks, lose to the Confusion users, lose to the Ghosts, and they kind of trade a bit with water. Empoleon has that Steel subtyping, which definitely makes him a lot more susceptible to the fighting damage. And Poliwrath, we'll get to Poliwrath in a sec, but actually PvPoke has Primeape as the second top fighter. So obviously Medicham's number 1. If Medicham can show up, Medicham will show up. But yeah, she's got Primeape on the second, so I think it's going to be interesting to see that one come around. And yeah, let's get into those Water Boys in the middle. So this one isn't as hard of a slot as the other 4 groups, but these 2 water types that are definitely interesting to look at. So Empoleon's kind of making his first real big showing in a cup, even before the Community Day move. Both he and Poliwrath will, Poliwrath can have either Mudshot or Bubble. Both are good in this cup, so you don't need the Legacy Mudshot. Bubble is fine. So he does some big damage to the Tanks. Both of them do big damage to the Tanks, I should say. They beat the Ghosts. They're a little bit iffy with the Confusion users and Fighting users, as I said before. And yeah, I did try to cut down on the spaghetti arrows for this infographic, so this is a lot more simplified. And if you want to look at a specific fighter or a specific Confusion user, then hit up PvPoke. I'll link to that in the description below, and yeah, just take a little look. So that's what I've whiffed up. I think it's a pretty good snapshot of the Sinister Cup, and I hope it gives you a good starting ground. So there are some picks that haven't been featured on here, such as Mawile, who didn't really fit into a group, and it is probably worth a look at. But with that said, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and I'll see you in the next Sinister Cup PvP video. Ooh.